It was a hearing that was combative right from the very start.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
A hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi that got so heated, one Democratic member left the hearing room.
Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once, when he was...
Weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning...
Is Jewish. I just want to be clear.
So you want to go there, Attorney General?
Over the Department of Justice redactions in the file, including Leslie Wexner, founder of Victoria's Secret.
Within 40 minutes... Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
There are moments in American political history where the cover-up collapses in real time, right in front of the cameras, with no escape and no spin capable of cleaning it up. What happened in that congressional hearing room with Attorney General Pam Bondi was one of those moments. And if you missed it, you need to understand what just happened, because it changes everything. Within 40 minutes of a Democratic congressman confronting Bondi about the redaction of Leslie Wexner's name from the Epstein files, the DOJ quietly added that name back into the public record. 40 minutes. They didn't claim it was a clerical error that took weeks to investigate. They didn't issue a formal review. The moment they got caught on the congressional record, the name reappeared. That's not a correction. That's a confession. That's the DOJ admitting, without saying a word, that the redaction was intentional, that someone made the decision to hide that name, and that the only reason it came back is because a congressman was watching and the cameras were rolling. Let that land. The Attorney General of the United States was caught red-handed in a congressional hearing, actively covering up the names of powerful individuals connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And the cover-up collapsed, not because of a whistleblower, not because of a leaked document, not because of a years-long investigation, but because a congressman was paying close enough attention to notice a name was missing and said so out loud. Imagine what's still hidden that no one has caught yet. Let's break this down clearly, because the significance of what occurred in that hearing room cannot be overstated. Pam Bondi was called before Congress to answer questions about the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein files, the massive document release that has been implicating some of the most powerful people in America. From the very first minutes, the hearing turned combative. One Democratic member made it clear from the jump, you can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch, not on our time. Bondi came prepared to do exactly that, to run out the clock, to talk in circles, to avoid direct answers, to play the part of a cooperative public servant while giving up nothing of substance. It's a tactic the Trump administration has perfected. Show up, appear to comply, say nothing meaningful, and walk out claiming you were transparent. But this time, that playbook hit a wall. The central moment came when a Democratic congressman confronted Bondi directly about the redaction of Leslie Wexner's name. For those who need context, Leslie Wexner is the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret and Elle brands. He was Epstein's primary financial patron for decades, the man who gave Epstein access to a Manhattan mansion, to private aviation, to elite social circles. Wexner has maintained he was deceived by Epstein, but his name appearing in these files matters enormously to understanding the full scope of Epstein's network. His name had been redacted, removed, hidden from the public, and when the congressman called it out, when he put it on the congressional record that Wexner's name had been deliberately removed from the Epstein documents, within 40 minutes that name was restored. The DOJ didn't announce it. They didn't hold a press conference. They just quietly put it back, hoping no one would connect the dots between the accusation and the correction. The congressman's response was exactly right. Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed, because that's what it was. Here's what you need to understand about government document redactions and why this particular incident is legally and politically explosive. Redactions in official government documents are not arbitrary. They don't happen by accident. Every redaction goes through a process. Someone makes a determination that a particular name, a particular piece of information, a particular reference needs to be hidden from public view. That decision has to be justified, documented, and approved through a chain of command. So when Leslie Wexner's name was redacted from the Epstein files, that wasn't a typo. That wasn't a software glitch. Someone in the chain of command at the Department of Justice decided that the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret, who had one of the most well-documented relationships with Jeffrey Epstein of anyone in his entire network, needed to have his name hidden from the American public. And then, when that decision was exposed in a congressional hearing, the name reappeared in 40 minutes. So that timeline is damning, because if the original redaction was legitimate, if there was a genuine legal or national security reason for removing Wexner's name, then that justification doesn't disappear because a congressman is angry about it. You don't reverse a legally justified redaction in 40 minutes. You defend it. You explain the legal basis. You stand behind your decision. The fact that they reversed it instantly tells you everything. There was no legitimate justification. The redaction was about protection, not procedure. This is the part no one can ignore. The DOJ under Pam Bondi is making political decisions about which powerful people get protection from the Epstein files and which ones don't. And when they get caught making those decisions on a live congressional record, they quietly reverse course and hope the news cycle moves on before anyone fully grasps what just happened. This Wexner redaction doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a pattern that has become impossible to dismiss as coincidence or incompetence. We already documented that 199 files referencing Donald Trump's name disappeared from the Epstein file database overnight. We already showed that the DOJ redacted the name of the person who sent Epstein the email saying, "Your littlest girl was a little naughty," while leaving victims' names exposed in the same documents. And now we have Wexner's name removed until a congressman noticed and said something publicly. The pattern is clear. The Trump DOJ is systematically protecting the people in the Epstein files who have relationships with Trump, with his inner circle, with his major donors, and with the billionaire network that put him in power and keeps him there. This isn't about national security. This isn't about protecting ongoing investigations. This is about protecting specific powerful individuals from accountability. And what makes this hearing particularly significant is that it produced something rare in the Trump era, a moment where the cover-up was visible, documented, and undeniable. There is now a congressional record showing that Leslie Wexner's name was redacted and then restored within 40 minutes of that redaction being challenged on the record. That congressional record cannot be scrubbed. It cannot be deleted. It exists in the official proceedings of the United States Congress. Democrats also raised Bondi's vote against a resolution condemning anti-Semitism, putting her on record as someone willing to look the other way on documented prejudice while simultaneously claiming to represent justice and the rule of law. And members called out the absurdity of Republican oversight under this administration, pointing out that when Merrick Garland was Attorney General, not one Republican asked him a single question about Epstein, not one, because the oversight was never about Epstein. It was always about protecting Trump. The walls are closing in, and they're closing in faster than the administration anticipated. Because here's the problem with a cover-up of this scale. It requires perfect coordination across too many moving parts. Every person who knows the truth is a potential leak. Every document that gets redacted is a potential red flag. Every hearing is a potential exposure point. And the more people involved in maintaining the cover-up, the greater the chance that something or someone breaks. This hearing was that break, not because it revealed everything, but because it revealed something specific, something documented, something that cannot be explained away. The 40-minute Wexner reversal is not spinnable. You can't dismiss it as a partisan attack. You can't claim the congressman is suffering from what the administration likes to call Trump derangement syndrome. The name was redacted. He caught it. It came back. That sequence of events is now part of the permanent congressional record. This exposes a much bigger problem for the administration. If this one redaction was caught because a congressman was paying close enough attention to notice a specific name was missing, how many other redactions are out there that haven't been caught yet? How many other names have been quietly removed from documents that no one has yet noticed? The Wexner catch happened almost by accident because someone was prepared, paying attention, and willing to say something publicly. That's an enormous vulnerability for an administration that's counting on oversight being slow, disorganized, and under-resourced. The timeline is also tightening in another critical way. The more these hearings happen, the more pressure builds on congressional Democrats to use every procedural tool at their disposal to force accountability. Republicans have spent years weaponizing congressional hearings for political theater. Democrats are increasingly learning to use those same tools to produce moments exactly like this one. Moments where the cover-up is exposed live on camera with nowhere to hide. Pam Bondi's position is becoming increasingly untenable. She walked into that hearing as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States and walked out having been caught on the record, overseeing the redaction of a billionaire's name from the Epstein files, a redaction that was reversed the moment it was exposed. That's not a minor embarrassment. That's a fundamental challenge to her credibility as the nation's top prosecutor. The calls for her resignation are not coming from nowhere. They're coming from the documented evidence that the Department of Justice is not functioning as a neutral arbiter of law under her leadership. It's functioning as a protection racket for the people connected to Trump's network. And every hearing, every revealed redaction, every quietly reversed cover-up makes that case stronger and more difficult to dismiss. There are also significant legal implications to what was documented in this hearing. Congressional testimony is not the same as a press conference or a cable news appearance. What gets said in those rooms, what gets entered into the congressional record, can form the basis of subsequent investigations, subpoenas, and legal proceedings. The documentation of a specific redaction and its reversal creates a paper trail, and paper trails in the right hands lead somewhere. Best case scenario from here: more congressional Democrats pursue this specific thread. More redactions get identified and challenged publicly, and the cumulative pressure forces either a genuine independent investigation or a political reckoning that makes this a defining issue heading into the 2026 midterms. Worst case scenario, the administration weathers this moment the way it's weathered every other scandal, the news cycle moves on, and the cover-up continues with slightly more caution about which names get redacted. But here's why the worst case is harder to achieve than it used to be. The 40-minute Wexner reversal is a specific, documented, undeniable data point. It joins 199 deleted Trump file references, redacted predator names, alongside exposed victim names, and a pattern of DOJ behavior that is becoming impossible to characterize as anything other than deliberate obstruction. You can dismiss one incident. You can explain away two. But when the pattern becomes this clear and this documented, it starts to constitute something that even the most compliant media cannot entirely ignore. Let's be honest about how rare this moment actually is. In the current political environment, with Republicans controlling all three branches of government, with the media largely normalizing what should be treated as a constitutional crisis, with Democratic leadership too often choosing caution over confrontation, genuine moments of accountability are vanishingly rare. What happened in that hearing room was one of them. A congressman caught the Attorney General of the United States covering up a powerful man's name in the Jeffrey Epstein files. He said so on the record. The name reappeared within 40 minutes. That is accountability happening in real time, imperfect, incomplete, without the full consequences it deserves, but real. And it matters because it demonstrates something the administration desperately wants the public to forget. The cover-up is not airtight. The truth is still findable, the evidence still exists, and in the right hands, it still produces results. This is what the resistance to this administration has to look like going forward. Not just protests, not just strongly worded statements, not just fundraising emails, but the painstaking, detailed, unglamorous work of reading documents carefully, noticing what's missing, saying so publicly, and creating a congressional record that cannot be erased. The 40-minute reversal happened because one person was paying close enough attention. Imagine what becomes possible when more people are paying that kind of attention. There is no version of events in which the documented behavior of the Trump DOJ under Pam Bondi is consistent with the duties of the Attorney General of the United States. An AG's job is to pursue justice impartially, to enforce the law without fear or favor, and to ensure that no person, regardless of wealth, power, or political connection, is above accountability. What the evidence shows instead is an AG who is making political decisions about which powerful people get protection in the Epstein files, reversing those decisions only when caught on the congressional record, and running the nation's top law enforcement agency as an extension of the Trump political operation. The calls for her resignation are not partisan noise. They are the logical conclusion of documented evidence. And even if she doesn't resign, even if she stays in her position and continues to do exactly what she's been doing, the exposure matters. Every hearing, every caught redaction, every documented reversal makes the case stronger. Every piece of evidence that enters the congressional record is a brick in the wall of accountability that will eventually demand a full reckoning. This story is far from over. The Epstein files contain thousands of documents. The redactions are still being cataloged. The names still being hidden will continue to be found. And every time one is caught, every time a congressman stands up and says, "I caught you red-handed," the cover-up gets harder to maintain and the truth gets closer to the surface. Pam Bondi was caught on the record in 40 minutes. And the next catch is coming. Stay informed. Stay engaged. The next move will be critical.